Animal Farm is a satirical novel written in 1943 by Eric Arthur Blair, who is better known as George Orwell. The film adaptation dates back to 1954 and it is directed by John Halas and Joy Batchelor. The story is set in the manor farm of Mr. Jones, who comes back home, he is drunk and he falls asleep. He will be suddenly wake up by the animal turmoil gathered in the barn, who have been summoned by the old major, a boar who explains to the animals that they have been slaves of human beings for many times. This is why he incites them to rebellion. In a short period of time, the animals were able to throw Mr. Jones out of the farm, and they managed to destroy any traces of human beings. A new period begins in the renamed Animal Farm. Among all animals, three characters stand out: the pigs Snowball, Napoleon, and Squealer, who elaborate a complete system of thoughts called animalism, which is based on 7 commandments. No animal shall sleep in a bed. No animal shall drink alcohol. 4 legs good, 2 legs bad. No animal shall kill another animal. All animals are equal. Initially, the farm lives a period of prosperity. However, with the passing of time, some contrasts appear. The pigs start to predominate on the others and do not actually work, but directed and supervised the other animals. Napoleon and Snowball have always more and more contrasting ideas on what they have to do. At the end of summer, Mr. Jones decides to attack the animal farm to retake possession of it, but the animals manage to face the strength of human being. When winter coming, the cattle realizes it needs light and heating. Therefore, Snowball shows the animals an innovative project, the building of a windmill. Nevertheless, as soon as Snowball announces his plans, Napoleon grunts, and 9 well-trained dogs chase Snowball, who runs away. So now Napoleon manages the farm alone and becomes the boss. He takes possession of Snowball's plans to build the windmill, passing them off as if they were his own plans. He takes all the merits of the project. When winter comes again, the farm is lacking in essential goods. This is why Napoleon begins to do business with Mr. Lagna by infringing the first commandment. Then all the pigs move on Mr. Jones' house by not respecting the principles at the base of animalism anymore. They wear clothes, they walk on 2 legs, they drink whiskey, and they sleep in beds. The other animals realize that they are now under submission again as when Jones ruled the farm, and they discover in Mr. Jones' house a group of dressed pigs who were playing cards with farmers. Furthermore, they noticed that there was no difference between the face of pigs and that of the farmers. This is why the animal farm transformed again into the old manor farm. This story could probably resemble a fairy tale for children, but it actually hides behind every episode some very clear meanings. Orwell in 1936 leaves to Barcelona and joins up the POUM, the Workers' Party of Marxist Unification, a Spanish communist political party that fought against Stalin. Effectively, the entire story represents a criticism to Stalin's totalitarianism in Russia. This is the reason why his novel was only published in 1945, after the end of the Second World War, when the United Kingdom and Russia were allied against Germany. So, a story such as Animal Farm could be seen as a sign of insufficient loyalty by the United Kingdom. Therefore, every episode in the story corresponds to a specific historical event. The animals' rebellion represents 1917's Russian Revolution and the collapse of the Tsar, in that case the expulsion of Mr. Jones. The disputes between Snowball and Napoleon in the will to extend the rebellion to the other neighboring farms represent the conflict between Trotsky, who wanted to export the revolution outside Russia, and Stalin, who, on the contrary, defended the theory of socialism in one country. The final scene, in which the pigs are playing cards, is the allegory of the Tehran Conference, when in 1943 three important personalities of the Second World War gathered for the first time: Stalin, Churchill, and Roosevelt. Two of the main themes of the story are disinformation and deception. Napoleon used the small fat pig squealer to inform the animals about any new advertisement he wants to communicate to them. The information that Napoleon spread were obviously false, but since Squealer was a brilliant talker, the other animals did not have the possibility to refute what he said. Therefore, the animals had a distorted vision of reality, which was well manipulated by the new owner, Napoleon. The ignorance of the animals allowed Napoleon to achieve his goals, because the animals were neither able to express their thoughts nor to read. This is why Napoleon manages to modify easily the 7 commandments of the animalism. People's disinformation and ignorance are two of the cornerstones at the base of dictatorship, such as that of Stalin, because they allow him to make people believe what is the most convenient thing to do. During the story, we can notice an attempt of rebellion to the dictatorship of Napoleon by the chickens, who refuse to deliver their eggs to their boss. This episode is a metaphor of the opposition of kulaks, a category of farmers, to the collectivization of agricultural goods imposed by Stalin. Animal Farm can be considered a political dystopian novel in which animals believe they can establish a democracy where all animals are equal, but at the end they establish a new dictatorship. So Orwell denounces the failure of the Russian Revolution that led to the totalitarian regime of Stalin. There are many differences between the novel and the 1954's film adaptation. The book starts with the old major who is speaking to the other animals and he will die in 3 days. On the contrary, in the movie, we can see that he dies at the same moment he speaks with the animals. We can consider the relationship between Napoleon and the 9 puppies a substantial difference. In the novel, Jessie and Bluebell, 2 dogs, have 9 beautiful puppies, who are taken away by Napoleon after their winning. In the film adaptation, we can notice that Napoleon finds these 9 puppies in a room of Mr. John's house. Furthermore, Squealer's personality changes, because in the book he is a brilliant, expert and persuasive talker, while in the movie he is less convincing. Snowball, after having showed his project for the building of the windmill, is chased by Napoleon's dogs, and in the book he manages to escape, while in the movie we clearly understand that he is killed. Another aspect to be underlined is the role of Mr. Lagna in the story. In the novel, Napoleon begins to do business with the neighboring farms, and Mr. Lagna acts as his intermediary. On the contrary, this character in the movie is called Mr. Whymper, who voluntarily chose to help the animal farm after having heard it needs support. But the main difference stands in the demolition of the windmill. In the novel, the windmill is destroyed twice. The first time because of a winter storm, and the second time because of Frederick, who destroys it with explosive. In the movie instead, Mr. Jones, the old owner of the farm, destroys the windmill, always with explosive. The story in the book ends with the scene of the animals who come back in the barn, and they are disappointed and embittered, because they have discovered the transformation of the pigs, who have become as the humans. On the contrary, the movie shows us the attack of the animals on the pigs, carrying out in this way a second rebellion. I believe that this novel concerns some very current issues, because Orwell, 73 years ago, faced some politically current themes. Nowadays, there are still some forms of dictatorship that don't allow people to be free and express their thoughts. Orwell has also showed how the revolution can apparently have positive outcomes, but then it will fail because a society composed of animals or human beings has always a chief who manages it and establishes rules.